This is a Glassbox Media podcast.
Welcome to My Worst Date. I'm Cassie.
I'm Keegan.
And I'm Christina.
I found an article for us to talk about.
First of all, we need to address that we're all back in person again. Which
yeah.
I feel like is very big news.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hi.
We are COVID free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
693.
We are chilling back in our studio. So yeah, it's wonderful so far.
Feels good. You know, I'm like a glass and a half of champs in.
Yeah.
Very celebratory mood all around, I think.
This is a very, very old school.
Yeah,
it does. It
because
really
we're recording
does feel
at
that way.
night versus, usually we record on Saturday mornings.
Yeah, it's a little hot, which do you remember early days in Cassie's
in my loft?
It was so hot. Like
so hot. And
I wanted to record naked. I was like, it is so hot up here.
We literally had the least amount of clothes on.
Yeah.
It was so fucking hot. And we couldn't turn the air conditioner on because it was so loud.
We were also recording all the Blue Yetis, and what we had to accomplish for 3 mics and 1 laptop was just very circuitous. It was very inventive. We were able to make it work, and it worked so well that now the first 20 episodes of our podcast are on Patreon.
Okay, but here's the thing. Here's the thing, because I will encourage everyone to pay. And look, it is our secret shame because the sound quality isn't great. But I would encourage everyone to pay the $1
The stories.
because
we had some
also
singers.
just fully the inhibitions were flying.
Oh.
Early on,
Yeah.
we were off the rails because also, I mean, we would drink a bottle or two of champagne.
We would drink enough.
Enough.
I'm not hating on it. I think it was great. But things got real fast and loose.
Yeah.
In those early episodes.
Liquid courage for
Oh,
sure.
man.
Went a little too far. There's some
was-
stories I shared where I was like,
You're like, I shouldn't have told that one.
this lives forever.
Well, that's kind of the thing. There is something kind of freeing about knowing that you have said things that strangers know now about you that you can never take back and exist somewhere in the ether for all of eternity. And
I think about that
that's
sometimes
okay.
when I have coworkers who are like, oh my God, I listen to your podcast now. And I'm like,
I wish you wouldn't. Yeah.
I talked about having a shallow vagina at one point. And
yes, you did.
My boss, who is a man in his maybe mid 50s, he was like, what? Because when we went to Austin, he was asking me questions and I was trying to be as vague as possible, but he managed to find the Outlier website, which of course had my name and the podcast name on it. So I was just like, well, that was a good ride. I have to look this person in the eye every day when they've heard things. And then I told you that my uncle. And my uncle and my grandma.
And your grandma. Your grandma said, I like the podcast.
And I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
So when I went home last year, when my dad passed, I saw my Uncle Tim for the first time in probably 15 years. And my Uncle Tim is a good old boy. He's in the east side of Columbus, which is not a good old boy, but he's but very, you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
No, he's like, I tried to listen to your podcast.
Nope.
I couldn't listen to all the titty talk. I was like, oh my God, this is at my
oat spit.
father's memorial. Okay?
Oh my God.
So cheers, Uncle Tim.
Sorry. I'm so sorry, but also if we don't make a piece of merch that says Titty Talk on it, immediately. That's hilarious.
Titty Talk.
Yep. So yeah,
my uncle was
I
a
want it
little
to
bit.
just be a quote that says, "I can't take any of that. I couldn't take all that titty talk." And literally,
Uncle Tim.
Uncle Tim.
Yeah. It's so funny because my uncle was far more diplomatic about it. He just told me, he was like, I don't think I'm the target demographic
You're right.
Yeah.
for your podcast.
No.
He also told me because they adopted my cousin Chandler, and he's like, when you gonna buy a baby?
Baby.
He's like,
Sir.
cost me $15,000, best $15,000 I ever spent.
Fucking
I'm like,
sir.
my Uncle Tim's wild.
Wow. God damn.
That is so incredibly.
It's so much. It's a lot.
It's
But
so
the
much to
titty
process.
talk comment.
That is the name of this fucking episode. Is
Oh God! Wow.
because we have to know where we reference it. I swear. I am. Oh, well, how do I follow that with this? All right.
This is what happens when we're back in person.
Oh
That's
my
all I'm
gosh,
saying.
we should really reconsider night recording.
Oh man, it is good. It really is. This is the right answer. Oh my God. Well, you guys, let me come back in with some dating news.
Oh, excellent, because we are a dating podcast.
Turns out, Titty Talk is a dating podcast.
I feel like we need to trademark that immediately.
If not sooner.
If that's not a podcast on the horizon for us,
Then it's our new show.
Yeah.
Tune in Tuesdays
Yeah,
for Titty Talk.
exactly. Like it either needs to be for us or we can like sell it to Cam from the Pleasure Podcast.
absolutely.
Somebody needs a podcast called Titty Talk, please.
I could do episodes on mine. That's for sure.
Oh, vey. Wow. Okay, so this is an article from Metro UK that I found, and it's 6 questions to ask your date to see if the chemistry is there.
Okay.
And I'm interested to see what you think about their advice.
I'm skeptical.
Okay. First things first, I wanted to point out that they didn't go in with a hetero couple as the header, and I
Oh.
appreciate that.
They found a nice
Oh,
stock
yeah.
image of a beautiful gay couple.
Yes,
Yeah.
beautiful gay couple.
Okay.
So
these are questions that you would ask like on a first date? Is that what they're saying?
right.
Or?
So it's 6 questions to ask your date to see if the chemistry is there.
Fuck,
So you're
I
like,
cannot wait.
yeah. So the first like it's not actually a question yet. It's just kind of like a suss out the attraction, right? So what caught your eye about my profile? So they're like, is that like
Oh,
what was it about my profile that caught your eye? Right?
that's
like, that
actually
kind of-
a really good question.
yeah. I think it's a pretty good question too
I
because
never
it's not
asked that.
It's not necessarily specifically like, why did you think I'm hot? But it is.
Yeah.
Or
It is inviting people
gonna
to
see-
talk
you're-
about your looks.
you
so.
are gonna see though if somebody would like turn around and be like, "Oh, I really like how you talked about blank." That you go, you know, it will point you, I think, to the direction of where their head is. You know,
Sure.
they're like, "I liked the
I like your titty talk.
Right.
Like-
yeah.
yeah,
Nice
yeah.
titties.
Yeah, because if all they mention is physical stuff, that
Sure.
would be something to log away as well.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that, generally speaking, it is kind of like, it is also trying to like, again, suss out like the attraction level, right? Like, is there attraction? Are you guys attracted to the same things? Does it feel, you know what I mean? Getting that general vibe. Okay. Yeah. The next one was get them talking. Okay. So it's, if you had to talk about one topic nonstop for 20 minutes or like give a TED talk about something, what would it be about?
Okay.
I like that. I like that
look,
question.
The thing is, I like these questions. I think that they're very good questions to ask. I have to say, for me personally, my heart rate goes up because I think everything's
Interview.
a test. I was at the eye doctor today.
Oh, no.
And I even told my eye doctor when they do that thing
The
where
one
they're
or
like
two?
1 or 2, which is better, like which is clearer.
honey.
I have anxiety about. I think I'm going to get it wrong. Like
I'm wearing
anytime.
glasses right now that do not help my vision.
Oh,
Simply
no.
because I'm a people pleaser and didn't want to disappoint my eye
exactly,
doctor.
It scares
my
me.
gosh.
Oh my God.
So answering questions, like, and I know that that's what you do on dates, like, but having questions that I have to answer makes me feel like it's a test.
Yeah.
And I'm like scared and nervous and like my heart rate goes up immediately. So
Can you think about and answer that? I mean, like, I actually feel like that's a good. That's
it's a
good
great
topic.
question. It's a great question, but it scares me.
I think all the dates that I went on, there were no questions asked, which I know is like not true. Obviously,
Sure.
we asked each other questions, but they didn't feel. If there's a way to reword it so it's natural and fits into the conversation, I think that the idea is correct.
Sure.
I like so far the 2 questions that I've heard. However, I would say that I agree with Keegan, and I do find like we have had a lot of dates that have written in as like, oh, I felt like I was on a fucking job interview.
Yeah.
You know
but I've
what I
also
mean?
had the other dates where it was like she didn't talk at all.
Right.
And I think that I think that this is kind of one of those things that I agree with you, Christina, in the way that I'm like, there is something about like a date should just naturally have good conversational flow.
Yeah.
I think that if you need questions already, it
See,
feels
that's
like
kinda how
a
it feels
problem.
to me.
But there's could be shy.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
That's exactly it. I think for me, that's where I
They're
get
good
hung up.
icebreakers.
That's I get a little hung up just because I'm like, I feel like there's a moment when you meet somebody where you know, like, oh, like we're gonna click. Even if there are like moments where the conversation ebbs and flows, it usually feels pretty good and pretty natural pretty early.
Yeah.
Now I can't. That's always how it's been for me. Now, I can't say that that's always how it is because we've definitely had stories where it's like, it wasn't going well and now we're married, you know?
Right.
So,
Yeah. But still, I think that these questions are valid even if you do click right on, because we actually just finished talking about our Patreon movie for July, which is 500 Days of Summer, where you can't read someone's mind. You don't. So the best way to know is to ask, you know, and take them at face value. So asking some of these questions, I think if it fits naturally in the conversation, even if you click, you might actually find out that it's like, I'm just interested in your titties.
Yeah,
you know?
Because I actually do feel like, I feel like for me, these are the kinds of questions I would ask somebody once I was already smitten. Like I can see myself like curled up on a couch with a glass of wine being like, what would your TED Talk be? You know what I mean? Like that does feel good to me, which,
Because you're now diving a little bit. It didn't say first date. It just said
to know if you have chemistry. So what would yours be? Multiverses?
Absolutely. Yes. Or like M theory or string theory, like all the different dimensions, like that were three-dimensional creatures living in the 4th dimension of time, and that's
okay. Hold on, I have my notebooks. Just a second, and get them out. Get through them.
Hold that thought. Be right back. You're like, and then they left. Wait, what?
Wait,
I thought this was about chemistry. Yeah, no, it's a different type of chemistry. Ask for their advice. They say, I'm looking for a recommendation for something you're interested in. Do you have any suggestions?
Music.
So, okay.
Music.
Okay.
I think like music, movies. I think that those are both really good ones. Book.
I need a new book.
Yes. I need a new book. That's a great one because I do feel like you can learn a lot.
Would be like, I don't read.
Oh, well, there you go.
Like, oh,
never
Check,
mind.
please.
Yeah. Well, sometimes, listen, reading is sometimes hard for
Actually,
people,
my husband doesn't read.
Books on tape and podcasts and stuff like that are interesting too.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's true. Yeah. I shouldn't be so harsh.
I'm a book lover for sure. So
yeah. Find out their fails. I thought this was interesting. Hear me out.
I never want to talk about my fails ever to anyone.
But listen, this one's good.
I don't like to talk to them about myself.
Me alone looking in the mirror. That's the only way I talk about my failures.
I like this one. It's a good fail conversation, they said. It's tell me about your biggest travel fail. So like you can be specific. Like tell me about your biggest travel. Like especially if you talk to somebody who's like a traveler.
Lighthearted.
Yeah,
that's not
different.
Like biggest fail of all time. Like I'm thinking like world crushing. So I'm like that, and that also to Keegan's point does feel like a job interview question. I believe I've answered that question like 3 times. Tell me about a time that you failed and how you recovered from it. You know, and I'm just like,
that is job interview. This is light and fun.
Yes, that is light.
Like I think that I don't know. I mean, depending on maybe what they do for a living, you'd be like, oh my gosh, oh like I'm a hairdresser. Oh my gosh, tell me about the biggest like fuck up you did on somebody. That would be a funny story because that's been, you know, like I probably would tell you a story about like me cutting off a guy's mullet and him crying, like you know, it was a real thing, and it wasn't a fail. It was just he really did need to cut off his hair, and it wasn't a fail on my part, but it was definitely something that sticks out in my brain as like
having cut our hair off and then cried about it.
And he had to for work. He had to for his new job. He had just got a new job, and they were making him cut his hair. When I tell you the guy was literally with real tears in his eyes, I was like,
he's
Hair,
losing the
it's
party in the
true.
back.
Oh,
Party's
yeah.
all
It's all business now.
yeah.
Oh, baby. My heart.
No
man.
party left for Ron.
Yeah.
He's got a job.
His name was probably definitely wrong. That feels very correct.
Work ones can be funny. I mean, work ones can really go either way. But there was that time that I sang loudly on a meeting with 50 people in it at my job.
Woof.
You remember I sent you that video while I was in Springfield?
Yeah. That should be shared.
I was gonna let it go. I was like, that's it. But yeah, no, it was a Zoom meeting with 50 people in it. It was one of the bigger meetings that we have every week, and I am always muted. I'm always muted. The way I double triple check that I'm muted now every minute of my life, because I do it on this podcast all the time when we're like, "Hey, it's so much worse," when we're singing or whatever. I did that, saying something else, but that loudly and in that cadence on a meeting with everyone on it. It got so quiet. It was so awkward. Oh my God.
Yeah, Zoom fails will never get old.
Anyway, I still work there, amazingly.
Yeah.
Because I was like, what, are you guys going to help me find a new job? Or
Yeah. Oh no. Oh man. I thought those were really good. And the last one was actually a funny, almost opposite of us. And it was, tell me about the best first date you've ever had. And I'm like, what if it's not the one you're on right now? I mean, that would be the only
That's the
question that
answer.
I
would
don't
take that as a fucking challenge.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's not this one right now.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
Taking notes. You get on a notebook, flip a page open.
Yep, pretty much. Well, who should we fuck, marry, kill this week? Our first
week back together.
venture back together.
Well, technically, our first venture back together was recording our
Movie.
Our Tainted Love movie, which was 500 Days of Summer.
which I didn't even think that's our movie for. It's for June, actually, not July, but it's like it's.
Oh yeah,
It's the beginning of summer.
Yeah.
And we did 500 Days of Summer. That was not intentional.
I feel like you did say that when
Did
we
I?
picked it. I think you did.
I don't know.
Maybe not.
I
I
never
don't know.
remember anything I say anymore.
I don't know.
My mouth moves and the words fall out.
I always forget it's my turn to pick a movie and end up picking a movie that's probably not even really a.
That's all right. I like our
Tainted
movie
Love.
club.
Yeah, it's really just movie club at this point. Is it Tainted Love? I
Is
don't
there a
know.
relationship in it? Then that's basically the bar at this point.
Are there two humans in the movie?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Perfect. It can't be Wilson.
We did do,
I mean,
maybe it could be.
I
But
mean-
we did do 500 Days of Summer, which for me was just such an instrumental movie. I think for me and for like a lot of people like at that time, especially if you were trying to belong to a very specific
It hit.
aesthetic. Right. Yeah. And Zooey Deschanel was a moment.
Yeah.
She was a
Yeah.
moment. She, I have to say, has one of the strongest brands
oh yeah, she's
I am-
committed to her moment.
ever seen. Like they really went all in on like you're never going, because some people, what it is just like with Madonna, it's like kind of your thing is that you're always evolving, you're always changing. Lady Gaga, it's like you're always like something new and something different. Zooey Deschanel, they looked at her whole team, and
She's
they were like,
art.
this
Yep.
is it. It's bangs.
Yes.
And it is vintage dresses for the rest of your life.
It's a lot of yarn.
It's bows.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe some sequins possibly. And she is
Quirky.
really the real life. Yeah, she's the adorkable kind of like girl, quirky girl, the real life Manic Pixie Dream Girl.
Who's that girl?
It's Jess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I liked that show though.
I
loved
love that
show.
show. That
So
show is
fun.
so good.
I have such a crush on Nick.
Yes.
too.
As you should. As you should.
What was I recently watching with him in it?
Oh, there was a new Minx.
Yeah. Oh, so good. Have you started it?
Yeah. No, I finished
Oh,
it.
it's so good.
It's good.
Oh, we have to talk about it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, his energy, I like it.
So good.
And
He's
you know,
so
it
good in
says
that
something
show.
about me that his energy in that show, which is very high strung,
Yeah.
is like hot. Like I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
Charlie Day.
yeah, I'm like, why? Because I'm just like, it would be a lot.
Really like manic, high strung
Right.
guy.
You're
Yeah.
vibrating at a frequency that I cannot match.
There's something
Very
really,
anxious.
really hot about Charlie Day.
Oh my god. I
That kid.
just clicked in. I think that Eric is Nick from New Girl.
But not as anxious though. Like he's not functioning on that level of like hysteria.
Yeah, like 2 levels under.
Yeah. He's a little lower than that. But I could see it.
You're like jackpot.
Oh man, I was thinking Manic Pixie Dream Girl, but now I'm kind of thinking
Manic Pixie Dream Boys.
yes. Oh my god.
Oh, he totally is for sure. And Charlie Day, you're right about that.
Yeah,
I don't know who a
was weird.
third would be though. I mean, like those two are really like the
Very
ones where you're
specific,
like, this is a specific genre, right?
Yeah,
Of like man. Whereas with the Manic Pixie Dream Girl, there's a million
for sure.
I mean,
Tropey is tropey.
we have a whole episode on Your Angry Neighborhood Feminist about that trope. It is a very problematic trope for a number of reasons that we don't need to get into on this show. But the fact that there are so many Manic Pixie Dream Girls is pretty problematic, given that like generally they are just women who are there to move a male
Narrative.
protagonist's plot line forward.
I say we pick our favorite Manic Pixie Dream Girl
but they
characters.
are fun, and that's what I was going to say is they can be fun. There's a lot of like fun stuff in these characters as well.
Yeah.
So Summer from 500 Days of Summer is definitely one.
Yeah.
I would say one that's a little edgier is her name Marla from Fight Club?
Yep,
Is
Marla
definitely
in
like
Fight
a Manic
Club.
Pixie Dream Girl.
Definitely.
type.
Clementine is my personal favorite.
From
Eternal
Sunshine.
Sunshine. I love that movie. I do need to rewatch it with an older mind to go back
Me
and look
too,
at
but
it
I haven't.
because I'm like, I loved that movie and I loved that tragic
Jim
love
Carrey in
story.
that movie?
Yes.
Mhm.
And it basically is
Him
like
and Kate Winslet.
Yeah.
she has her hair just dyed all funky and he's really closed in and straight laced and they enter
She's there
into
to
a
loosen him up.
relationship.
But isn't he like she fake?
No, she's not fake. No,
No.
but she erases him from her memory.
Oh God. Okay, that's
And
right.
so he erases her too, but through it he's like he doesn't want to lose the memories of her. And so at the end, even though they know that they're ill-matched, that it's not going to work out, they still spoiler alert on Eternal
terrible
Sunshine.
message.
They decide to date again, even though they're very bad for each
It's
other.
a bad
and
message to
I thought
send.
it was so romantic
No,
back in the day.
me too. Like this is the problem
Wow.
with the Manic Pixie Dream Girl trope is that like I wanted
Definitely.
this kind of love, this
Yeah.
kind of like truly
It's
like
meant to be.
chaotic
Yes.
love story,
Yes.
and like all of these
True
stories,
love will shine through.
yeah, all
Yes.
of these stories have that like very chaotic like you in 90% of these stories because you've got like Holly Golightly from Breakfast at
I don't
Tiffany's.
remember who she pushes through, the protagonist. I hated that movie though.
Oh, I like Breakfast at Tiffany's, but I mean, yeah, no, there's that she doesn't. It's kind of that like anxious attachment style and avoidant, and when you have a woman who's that avoidant attachment style, it somehow automatically puts her in the Manic Pixie Dream Girl category,
Right. 'Cause she's not like the other girls.
Yeah,
Why wouldn't she want to be completely obsessed with you, a man?
Yep. Exactly.
yeah, she doesn't want to belong to you. That's the famous line from Breakfast at Tiffany's, is he says like, you belong to me, and she says people don't belong to each other, right? Like that's kind of her thing, and she's helping him grow. And then
Oof.
you've got like Penny Lane from
Yeah.
Almost Famous, who's also that kind of flitty flighty,
Just there to help
Mhm.
our characters along.
Mm-hmm.
but
Learn
they're
lessons.
fun, and I wanted to be every single one of
Yeah.
them,
Yeah.
every single one of them when I was growing up.
Yeah, it's Marla for me for sure.
Marla from Fight Club.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
That
can see
tracks
that.
so hard for me.
Oh.
That track's so hard for me. It's definitely that. I think that it's that she was so fuck you about it because I
Yeah.
think she fought it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I can see that for sure. You want to talk about somebody else having a brand? Helena Bonham Carter.
Yes.
has been brand from.
Fucking
But you know,
Day one.
yeah, I mean, Helena Bonham Carter is just, but you know what's weird about her is that like
nothing. She's amazing.
Then she turns around and does like the King's Speech, and you're just like, okay, like
Yeah.
you know, is she just like,
It's true.
you know that she's like such a weirdo, wonderful weirdo.
She was great as Princess Margaret in
Yep.
The Crown too.
Exactly,
Yeah.
like
Really
she can
good.
do these period
Ugh.
pieces so convincingly because her family's like super fucking rich. But like, I think that's probably helps when you're trying to like pull from something.
Yeah.
she does have that hyphenated last name thing going.
Yeah, I mean, I think her like grandparents were like lords and ladies.
That
like,
tracks.
Yeah, it does.
Was-
It totally tracks. But she's fun.
You can be quirky when you have that much money.
Exactly.
Oh, amen.
Exactly. You have permission to be quirky. But I fucking love her. I love that she still shows up on the red carpet in trash bags.
Love
it's
her.
incredible.
She's Bjork of film.
Yeah, amazing. Oh, okay. Oh, no, I don't want to do that person. All right. Since we just did 500 Days of Summer, I feel like we got to throw that in. Gotta throw summer. Yeah.
That makes sense. And you're doing Clementine, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
I am.
Okay.
Like just what I
Cassie, you've
admired.
never seen that.
I haven't.
Okay.
What I admired about Clem is that she was abrasive. She was brave. She spoke her mind. She also just did what she wanted to do. While Jim Carrey's character was often like more closed off and like afraid to do stuff, and she was like, she wanted to go out. She wanted to do things.
Like, live your life.
Yeah.
I know what I'm going to do.
Okay.
I'm going to marry Clementine. Because to be honest, of these three, she's the only one who I feel like might not divorce me. I really feel that way. I'm like, I really
She's
feel like
I will suffer through it. It's fine.
I feel like I would get divorced from Summer or from Marla, and I feel like neither will be my choice. I feel like they will initiate the divorce
Yeah.
on me, and it would be really like such
painful.
a bummer. I'm too like I don't know. I think I'm too soft to be with like either one of them. Where I feel like Clementine, even though she
She's
is
gonna
a little
fight for your relationship.
she's a little harder and a little more abrasive, but I feel like if she really like, I feel like she might actually like me, and I feel like if she likes you, she might like really fight for you.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna marry her. Also, I just think her style is like kick-ass, super cool.
Absolutely.
I think that we would have such a fun relationship. We're gonna dye our hair all kinds of colors. We're gonna go on wacky adventures.
Yeah, she's a wacky
Is
adventures
Clem
kind of girl.
me?
A little bit.
Could
yeah,
be.
probably.
Yeah.
You're probably
Of the three.
You're closer to Clem than you are to Marla.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I
Okay.
agree.
Wait.
Because
I think who are we of these three?
I'm probably Marla.
I'm
if I
Summer
had to be
of the
honest.
three.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. You're
Okay.
you're Clem, Cassie. I'm Summer, and you're Marla. We have our Halloween costumes done and done.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Actually,
I look awful in orange.
I cannot wait to tell you what my Halloween
Oh my
costume
God.
is.
You know already?
Eric and I
How?
already figured it out, and we are fucking stoked for it.
Oh my god!
Now, last year was Han Solo and Kryptonite and Chewbacca, so we
tough
have
to beat.
big
Oh my God.
Tough to beat.
but I'm excited for it. But I think I know what I'm going to do.
Okay.
too.
Oh wait, hold on. I'm not done.
yeah.
I'm not done. I'm not done. I'm going to fuck Marla.
Of course you are.
I
That
have
tracks.
to, although it is another situation where I'm like, this is ill-advised. I feel like it's going to be one of those sessions where I'm going home
Sessions.
later.
Sessions.
Sex sessions
You know.
where I'm going home later and I'm just like, what was that? You know what I mean?
What
Where
I just do.
Almost like that you're like, I did weird stuff.
I did weird stuff and I need to take a shower.
And not that she did weird stuff, but like I was inspired to do weird
I was
stuff.
doing
and I
weird
want-
stuff
does
with
she
her.
think I'm weird?
Yeah.
We did weird
We did
stuff.
weird stuff
yeah.
together.
We did weird stuff and probably in a weird setting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're
Where
going
I'm
to
just
second
like,
guess yourself. You're going to be thinking about it for the rest of your life.
yeah, it'll pop into my brain at
Yep.
the most inopportune moments.
Ugh.
And it will be good, but it will also be like, oh, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
all
I
at
do
once.
know what you mean.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
it's definitely not a long-term situation for me, but one night it'll be memorable.
Yeah.
It'll be for sure memorable. And then Summer, bless her
Sorry.
heart. I just don't see it working out for us. I mean, I think we could I think we could like listen to records together.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I want to
and
come
read
to your
books.
house.
I would love to have her book recommendations.
I want to be your friend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But no, I don't want to have a relationship with her. No.
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing.
All right.
I think I'm going to marry Clem, and only because I think that I have a tendency to be a little bit like Jim Carrey, and I like a spirit and energy like Clem that's
You gotta have someone to
exciting
drag
adventure. I
you.
have to have someone drag me
Yeah.
out of my own head,
Yeah.
my own space, and so I want to be responsible. My heart was for a minute thinking Marla
No.
because I was
my
like,
God.
listen, you want to
Christina.
talk? She went to like support groups for fun, and I'm
Cannot.
like, we
That
would
is
go
you.
into a dark
Of the
place.
three of us, I feel like you are the last person to marry Marla. Like,
It would not be good.
Not because you don't want to, but like for your health. Like, I feel like me and Cassie could come out the other side of that.
Maybe, yeah.
You
No, it's not healthy
You
for
would
you.
you
Ma'am.
and Marla would fall into a deep
If
dark
anyone,
hole.
if anyone objects, raise your hand.
Both me and Cassie were like actually
strong hand
So
raises.
see, I'm making good decisions in
Good job.
2022.
Bless
So
you.
yeah, no, I am wearing glasses and I am going to marry Clem, and I'm going to fuck Summer because
Okay.
I've seen now the hot kiss
Oh,
in
yeah.
that and the
Yeah.
hot kiss in New Girl.
Yeah.
I'm like,
she's a good kisser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And has great taste in music, I think.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that would be a fun night. I think it would be
It'd be a quirky, fun night. Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, good.
Her apartment's going to be so cute. There's going to be like velvet wallpaper. It's going to be really
She's gonna
nice.
send me home. She'd be like, "Oh, actually, this shirt looks better on you."
Oh,
And
yes.
she'd be like,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
She has that vibe for sure. And she definitely has like all manner of like beverages in the fridge for you to
Oh,
take home.
Orangina?
Yeah.
Yes, you can have an Orangina.
Yes. Would you like a San Pellegrino orange mango? Like what?
Exactly.
Yes.
What? Yeah, that sounds
Blood orange.
delightful.
It's my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, like you guys might go thrifting afterwards. Like,
Oh,
that's the vibe, right?
absolutely.
Like it's gonna be good. You're gonna go to an old record store.
Yeah.
like it'll be
Wait,
nice.
I
just
bet
like
she shakes like gin martinis.
Oh,
She's got
yeah.
like a cocktail kit, and we
Uh-huh.
have gin martinis.
I love that she's literally dating one of the property brothers.
she is. I forgot that.
She is.
Oh, I love that
tried,
journey
I love that.
for her.
She
Me
tried
too.
her hand at dating like quirky, like
They're like-
hipster guys, and she's like, actually, you know what? What I really need in my life
Is a
I'm
hard-working
enough
Canadian.
hipster. Yeah, she's like, I'm enough hipster alternative for one relationship. I need
exactly. So many
perfect.
straight lays.
straight laced.
Oh man, I am going to. Gosh, I don't know. I actually was originally going to marry Clem. I think it might be much. I think that it might be much.
It's a lot of energy.
I
The
think
two
so.
of you together would be a lot of energy.
I think we'd be much,
Mm-hmm.
much.
Yeah.
And I think that what I'm going to do is marry Summer.
I think that's a good idea for
makes
you.
so much sense.
Yeah.
That is the best choice for you
Yeah.
out
It
of the
is.
three.
It is.
100%.
Yeah, we are going to share clothes.
Yeah.
We are going to listen to music. We
Yeah.
are going to sing like Kermit the Frog.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
we're going to have so much fun. And we're going to have little cocktail parties.
Oh, your dinner parties would be the funnest.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Agree.
We make the best steak.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's going to be a good time.
So fun. Anyway, I'm going to marry her. And then I'm going to fuck Marla because, duh.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good time.
It's going to be a
Yeah.
dark, good time.
Yes,
You're right.
exactly. Which I just want for an evening. Like I want it to go
I
places.
don't want to do it at Tyler's house.
Oh no.
Oh, no. We don't like mess.
No. And in fact, did we ever see Marla's house? What's her house like? Because I just have
Yes, we did.
We do. Is it okay?
It's in the, it's in an apartment building. I remember that. And it's definitely nicer than his
okay.
place.
All right. Then fine. Yeah, that's
But
fine.
every place that we go will smell like cigarettes.
I mean, it looks like when you watch Fight Club, you're like, this whole city has like a gray filter over the top of
hate
it.
it.
It looks like everything smells like smog.
it definitely smells like
But
cigarettes.
that's okay. I'm okay with going
And, like,
there
stale
for
bourbon.
an evening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to get bed bugs. God damn it. I
But it's an adventure, and you'll think about it for the rest of your life.
I can't do it. The bed bugs are keeping me out. I'm sorry. I have to. It feels safer to go with Clem.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right. That's it for me.
Okay.
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
So we do have a new patron. We are really, really excited to announce. So thank you so much. And we want to give a really big Patreon welcome to Morgan Seraphin for joining us there on Patreon. We are back in person now. So we're going to have a big meeting this weekend and write every single Patreon message that we missed while I was out of town. So everybody should be getting the rewards very, very soon. Thank you so much for being patient with us. And we love having you as part of our Patreon family. If you have any suggestions for anything that you'd like to hear on the show, if you want to write in any stories, we would love, love, love to hear them.
Yeah.
Yay. All right.
Welcome, Worsty.
Yeah. You guys want to take 5 and we'll come back with stories?
Sounds
Yes.
good.
Cute.
And we're back. Okay, so I have the Tainted Love this week, so I will start us out. This is from a listener. They wrote in, which thank you so much.
Love it.
Says, big fan of the pod. Thank you for all you do. As a true crime fan as well, I thought you would enjoy this worst date.
Uh-oh.
Please keep me anonymous. Mystery. It was back in 2017. I was freshly single from a long relationship and on Tinder just looking for some free drinks and fun.
Yes.
There you go.
Right? This man was messaging me to hang out, saying he was also just looking for fun. He asked me for drinks, but the day of offered for me to go to his house instead.
No, thank you.
Specifically saying, want to come to the hizzy?
Nope.
No.
No. Actually, you know what? It turns out I can't come.
Also, it's 2017. Like,
The hizzy?
whoa.
No.
Like, the
Hey,
hizzy.
Warren G. Like, no thanks.
My guy.
What is
Like,
going on?
Mace.
The hizzy feels very much like Malibu's Most Wanted. Like, this is like, what, like 2001? No, stop it.
Well, also, just
The
because
boo.
you want to keep things casual does not automatically equate to fucking.
No.
I'm sorry, it doesn't. But I feel like some people think I just want to keep something casual. They think that's just no string sex. And sometimes that's a great byproduct of it,
Sure.
but that's not automatically what it means.
No.
So I feel like
Also,
that should be
presumptive
clarified.
as fuck.
Your home is very intimate. Like, even if
I
it's
believe
not
you mean hizzy.
hizzy. Sorry, your hizzy is very intimizzy. And I feel like...
I hate you. I hate this.
Sorry.
I hate it.
I hate it too. I also
You're like,
hate...
I
Well,
actually
and also
hate it.
it could be
too.
dangerous if you're a
Exactly.
female entering a male's abode. There are
Yeah,
lots
but-
of things that can happen to you to
Yeah.
make you a Dateline episode.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. And like either way too, though, it's just like your house is so intimate and personal that like going there on a first date
No.
feels like
It's
without
no.
knowing the person at all.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think so. But anyway, she writes, first red flag. I told him I would rather meet in public and we can see where the night takes us. We met up for a drink, and while the conversation was flowing, something just didn't feel right. I told him I was tired after a couple of drinks and ended the night early. I went home. About 2 weeks later, I'm scrolling on Facebook and see a familiar face.
Mm-mm.
It was his mugshot. He had been arrested for shooting and killing his girlfriend the year prior. So she went on a date,
with
someone who had already murdered.
someone who already was a Dateline episode.
Uh-huh.
no.
Exactly.
That's awful.
And wanted her to come to his house.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He had framed it as suicide, and originally the police labeled it as such. The family spent a year asking the police to investigate further as they did not believe their daughter would commit suicide.
Wow.
The
Holy
police,
shit.
right? The police found evidence to back up that he shot her and arrested him.
Oof.
She says, which I'm saying this on the pod because I want her to resend. She says, I put the article at the bottom, but there was no attachment.
Oh.
So I don't know if it's a thing with Squarespace because she submitted this via Squarespace, but I would love to read that article. So
Yeah.
please resend it.
You have to be so...
myworstdatepodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be so careful.
Wow.
Yes.
You really do. It's so tragic. But yeah, a guy's for a first date, their apartment, it's
just, I
It's-
mean, every time, I mean, for everyone, but more so, of course, percentage wise for women and women identifying folks, like when you go on a first date at all with a stranger,
Mm-hmm.
you're flipping a coin. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
because that is how it feels. I mean,
It
it might
does.
feel very like, or it might sound very like hyperbolic to say it like that, but that is
But
how
it's not.
it feels.
And
It's true.
I have to say that guys need to stop like getting offended
Yeah.
by us being
But I'm
cautious.
a good guy. But I'm a good guy. Why
How
would you
the
feel that way
fuck
about
would
me?
we know?
We don't know.
Guess what?
We don't know.
I'm certain that Ted Bundy said he was a good guy, and he
Right.
wasn't. He's not. And also, you guys, can we stop saying he's good looking? He's not.
I mean, that's a whole
That's
conversation.
weird.
Disgusting.
But like, yeah, I mean, it's like not all men, but like, okay, but which ones?
And how would we
Yeah,
know?
okay.
How
But
do they
which
know?
ones? How would we know? When I sent the article to my friends along with remember that date I went on a couple weeks ago? My friend asked me if the reason my gut was saying go home was maybe that he was acting as if he'd gotten away with murder.
Oh,
Wow.
A whole new meaning to that saying for me now. Anyways, always trust your gut. Thanks for the laughs and stories. Love ya, XOXO.
Wow.
whoa.
That is, that's a worse date.
That's
Yeah.
that is something that I do feel like you would carry with you for the rest of your life in terms of like, okay, this is a possibility.
Yeah.
For like someone, I think about that all the time, that like the person pouring your coffee at Starbucks, or the person like you're next to in traffic, or the person you work with, anybody, you don't know what's going on. And like you could be around somebody who's murdered somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in fact, statistically, you probably have been at one
Yeah.
point or another. You probably have
Especially
been.
here in America.
Hi.
Hi.
Italy, we're looking at you. Come through.
Coming
come
your
through.
way.
Coming your way. Okay. I've got a story. They say, I, a 22-year-old female, went on a Tinder date with a guy who we will call Chris, a 26-year-old male.
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Chris and I matched on Tinder and messaged back and forth for a couple days. The connection was there, so we decided to go on a date to a popular bowling alley that wasn't too far from his place. The alley is in a major city and there's never any parking, so Chris said I could just park at his apartment and then we could take an Uber. I agreed. I got to his place a little early and he asked if I wanted to come in as he was finishing getting ready.
No, thank you, sir. You're a man. You should already be ready.
Exactly.
Honey,
I was
when you
about
put
to
your
time
mascara
out.
on, I'll meet you outside.
Yeah, exactly. I'm about to time out this whole thing because I'm
Yeah,
just like,
no.
look, as a woman who does like full, if I'm going out, we all know, like,
Honey.
if I'm going out, it's like full glam.
Yeah.
Like,
You know the exact time it takes you. How long?
exactly. For me, it would be an hour and a half.
Okay,
I
how
need
long?
an hour and a half.
I need like 40 minutes.
I'm 1 hour exactly. I want 1 full hour from the time I get into the shower until I'm completely ready to walk out the
Because
door.
I want to play my music. I know
Yep.
what my process is, right? I'm like, I'm going to play my
listen to a
music.
podcast.
I'm going to have a drink. I'm going to do like I have a ritual, and I know
Right.
how long it takes me.
I know exactly how long it takes me.
First of all, that, and I'm doing a whole fucking thing. So I'm like, what are you doing?
Honey,
if
you
you're not
put
ready,
your shoes on. Let's go.
if you're not ready by the time I got there, it means you were asleep until 5 minutes ago.
Right.
And
Yes.
like no, I'm sorry.
I hate this guy.
Well, I think you guys are right. She says, red flag number 1, his apartment was disgusting.
Yeah.
He lived with 3 other guys, and the place looked worse than a dirty college frat house.
Oh my God, is it my neighbor?
Smelled horrible.
You can tell us.
Garbage everywhere. Dirty dishes. Cigarette ash everywhere. He told me his roommates were slobs and that he used to clean up after them, but stopped because he was tired of being their maid.
Okay, I will say, hold on, because I
was
was,
your room specifically then.
yeah, that's true.
Your
But
room would be clean.
I was a
that's right.
roommate with my ex-boyfriend, and we had a male roommate. And I will say our apartment got to a state of like unwieldy chaos, of like, it looked horrifying. And it was partially because it got to a point where I was like, I'm not doing the dishes.
I am not your mother.
Yeah. I was just like, I'm not doing the dishes until someone else does. So the dishes did not
Ever get washed?
get done. I mean, I'm not
They ended up
exaggerating.
underneath
the sink.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. Like they just didn't get done, and then like the apartment just deteriorated because I was just like, well, I'm not going to do it. I was just stubborn.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I will live in filth rather than do
That's
this.
right. Yeah.
Hey, sometimes you got to take a stand.
And it
That's
didn't. I
true.
mean, it didn't work.
No.
So
We have to tell Keegan this real quick. Sorry to off topic your story.
No,
but
no.
my friend was in town, Sarah, and she knew the roommate, the squirrel mate.
the cheese mate.
The
Did he have
squirrel.
cheese under the?
No,
No,
no.
this isn't cheese
No,
under
I know
the
that
couch
guy.
roommate. Yeah, you know him. But no, it was
It was the girl.
female,
The squirrel.
the squirrel, the one that
squirrel.
picked up the squirrel and chucked it outside.
She said she lived in Johnstown. I'm like, I don't remember her. And she came, I think, when I went to the joint vocational school. And Sarah was like, oh, yeah, I know her. She lived like right around the corner. I'm like, shut
Squirrel
up.
girl.
Yeah, she's in a band now.
Of course she
And
is.
apparently like a really fucking
really
good
good
singer.
one.
I mean,
Yeah,
in
she's
Nashville. She's like in Nashville now.
Yeah.
Look, anybody
Good
who
for
will
her.
pick up a squirrel with their bare hands. It reminds
course she's
me
in a band.
of that TikTok of that woman who picked up that possum with her bare hands. Did you see that? Yes. There was a woman in a restaurant. There was a possum in a restaurant. And I think she literally says, don't worry, I'm from the South or I'm from the Midwest. I don't remember. She said one or the other. And she just went and she grabbed this possum like it was a baby kitten just by the scruff of its neck.
Yeah.
And carried it out of this restaurant.
Feels like how you would do it.
I would never. I like possums and I would never approach.
Not by the scruff. You would pick them up underneath them.
No.
That's how you get
Possums do not
rabies.
have the rabies.
They don't have rabies, but I still don't want it to bite me.
Yeah,
They've got like jaws that unhinge and it freaks me out. I love possums, actually. I think they're so cute.
That's why you throw a towel over them. And then you pick them
They
up.
just freak out. They play possum. They roll over. They're like,
And just pick them up, throw them outside.
All right. So he finally got done getting ready. Okay. I don't know.
what was he
And
doing? I need to know. What was he doing?
I don't know. We
He's like blow
hopped
dry.
in an Uber, making this pompadour.
He's doing feathering. Feathering his hair out.
Red flag number 2. He shares with me that he was dishonorably discharged from the military for failing a drug test. But he went on to say that he failed it on purpose because he made more money bartending than he did from the military. And the military was just taking up too much of his time.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, I'm not advocating for the military,
No.
but I'm also like, that's a really weird conversation to have on your first date with
Yeah.
somebody.
Yeah. We finally get to the bowling alley and we go to the desk to get a lane. I said I would pay for the first game and he didn't argue. Not that I was expecting him to. I actually like paying for myself on dates because then you don't feel like you owe the other person anything just because they paid.
This is a girl after my own heart right here.
Exactly. We get our lane reserved, then stop by the bar inside of the bowling alley to get a drink. Again, I offered to get the first round of drinks for both of us, and he agreed. This was red flag number 3 for me because he seemed like he preferred that I pay. Of course he does.
Of course.
Everyone likes free shit. Free shit tastes better. It feels better. It's awesome.
Absolutely.
And I fell into this trap too. This is a people pleaser thing where I'm like,
Yes.
oh, I can get the first round. And then all of a sudden, like, you, a broke person trying to live on their own in LA, has spent $120 on a bar tab in WeHo for somebody that you're going to ghost later.
Wow.
Not that I
Oh, no.
know what that's like.
No, it sounds like you. It
Sounds a completely made up situation that's never
I can't
happened
believe
to her.
you pulled that out of thin air.
You should be a creative writer.
We finally started bowling and everything was going fine. The conversation flowed well. Lots of laughs were shared. We got a few more rounds of drinks and I paid for all of them.
Whoa. Okay. Look.
Okay.
I am a people pleaser and not
I'm
happily,
not.
but I very quickly would have racked up like at least $100. Like I know I would have because that's who I am. A person who's afraid to tell my optometrist if it's 1 or 2. Okay. I know that that's who I am as a person, but I am also a person who suffers from poverty, PTSD, and there is no way that I would have allowed myself to pay for everything the whole night.
Me.
Yeah.
No way.
It's-
There's no way.
It's easy now. I definitely
you
learned
have
that.
money.
I got burned a couple times where I'd be like, oh, you want to get the next round? Just bring it up. Soup's cash. Be like, oh, I'm ready for the next round. Can you get me just fucking point blank? Don't offer.
Or I would just stop drinking.
Don't offer.
I would
Me.
honestly stop drinking. I would just be like,
Me
if you're not
too.
gonna, if they're not
I
gonna
don't need it
offer,
if it ain't free at that point.
yeah, I'd be like, all right, I paid for the first round. If he's not, because I know myself, I don't think I would ever be forward enough to ask them to get the next round, but I just wouldn't bring it up. And I'd be like, okay, well, I guess neither of us are drinking for the rest of this night. How about that?
And we're going to live in this dirty house. I'm taking stands.
That's my Taurus rising.
She's like, and
Stubborn.
my heels are sunken.
He never offered to pay, but I was having fun and we decided to play one more game of bowling. And again, he looked at me when it came time to pay.
I'd be like, what you looking at?
Exactly.
I need to go to the bathroom. Bye.
During that second game of bowling, I saw Chris take a picture of me and put it on his Snapchat story. This was red flag number 4
I don't
because
like
it's our
that.
first date. Way too soon for any pictures of us out together.
And all I can assume is that this bitch is paying for my entire night.
Yeah,
that's
that's
what he
fucking
wrote on
weird.
it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I don't like that.
We barely knew each other and we weren't even friends on Snapchat. I ignored it though because it's not like anything bad could come from one picture, right? Wrong.
Oh, no.
Anyhow, we got done bowling, took an Uber back to my car. He asked me if I wanted to come up to his apartment.
Nope.
I politely declined and just drove home. Shortly after I got back to my place, he texted me saying he had a really good time and hopes to see me again. I didn't respond back until the next day and just said it was nice meeting him. I had no interest in going out with him again. I hoped he got the hint from my text. I thought he did because I didn't receive anything back from him until a few days later. He called me and said he had just spent the last few nights in jail and apologized for not being able to reply to my text.
Well, honest.
He was super embarrassed to admit that he went to jail. I asked him what happened, and he shared with me that him and his ex-girlfriend very recently broke up. Like only a few days before we went on the date.
Oh.
When he posted the picture of me on his Snapchat story, his ex saw it and went to the police. So this is coming from him. His ex saw it and went to the police claiming domestic abuse in a fit of jealousy.
Okay. Also, you know what you were doing by posting that picture.
That's exactly right.
Okay. I mean, I don't trust a single thing he says, but also if you're posting a picture of someone you're on a first date with where there's not like that kind of chemistry.
Just broke up with an ex.
You are
like
trying to make them jealous.
Yeah.
You know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Look.
Yeah. They're in
Stop
their
it.
Yeah. Stop. Get some help.
Get home.
Get a therapist.
I asked why she would do something like that. He said she was just jealous, but there was an incident a couple weekends before where they got into an argument at a bar and his ex ran out of the bar and started running down the road away from him. He said he was really scared because she was drunk and could have gotten hurt, so he chased after her.
Chivalrous.
And when he caught up to her, he grabbed her and kind of threw her against a building, and it was all caught on the security camera.
Okay, wait. I'm sorry. I have so many questions. Like, why would you throw her against a building?
Oh, he wanted to
stop her.
He wanted to stop her.
Has that ever happened?
No, this is not happening.
In the history of ever.
This is somebody who's rightly spending time in jail for, it seems like, being a piece of shit.
Also, what a thing to say to somebody. I think you just got to let that go. Start fresh.
This motherfucker is contacting her from jail
and telling her all of this.
They went on one bad date.
It's a lot.
And this is a phone call they're having.
Nope. I have spent how much money on you, and now I'm having to spend my emotional energy on you as well?
No.
I mean, would I listen just so I had something to tell my girlfriends later?
Yes, absolutely. After sharing all this, he asked if I wanted to go on another date.
My guy.
Oof, man.
I want a tenth. I want a tenth of that kind of confidence.
It's just self-delusion at that point. I don't think that's even confidence. That's
energy.
Just somebody that does not really.
Do you think those people are happier? Do you think they're happier?
I mean, ignorance is bliss is a popular saying for a reason, I think. So,
I mean, I think if I didn't analyze everything in my life to the nth degree, maybe I would be a slightly happier human being.
Eric and I have had this exact conversation. I
don't believe that ignorance is bliss. But there are things that I choose to focus on and choose not to focus on.
That's
well,
as long
that's a broader conversation.
Okay, let's get back into stories. All right,
we're about to get real deep and existential for y'all.
Yeah, I didn't mean to go there. I just my brain went there. I was like, well, never mind. Okay, so my story came from Reddit as well. And it starts out, okay, so this date is just awful. I'll try to give you as much detail to set the story. I was commenting on a friend's Facebook post, and a man who was his cousin, but I didn't know at the time, was commenting back and forth with me and started messaging me privately. We started chatting, had a decent convo, and he asked if I wanted to grab dinner. I agreed. He picked me up, and we went to Boston Pizza, which is basically a more expensive Pizza Hut type of situation.
Okay.
Dude, I'm sorry. Can we talk about how fucking
old
school pizza was?
Why did I just
Wait, what's that?
Old school Pizza Hut? Do you remember
where
you're
they had the old school Pizza Hut
booths and the pizza
and
buffet
the
bar?
Not only do I remember,
cups.
we have talked about it on this podcast, this very podcast.
Red cups.
I need our Gen Z listeners to understand the magic that was there was a buffet. There was a salad bar situation.
And the breadsticks. And the
it was a sit-down restaurant.
Yes.
Are there any Pizza Huts that are sit-down restaurants anymore?
I kind of want to go.
I would
don't know.
If we can find one in the state of California, road trip.
We will do a birthday party or something there. Can you imagine?
I want an all-girls Pizza Hut sit-down
extravaganza
salad bar road
I want to
trip.
drink soda out of those red fucking cups
that are probably gave every single one of us fucking
They had chips on the side.
diseases.
Oh, man.
You know those having worked
those
in
things got the hard wash.
I've worked in chain restaurants before, and I still
Did they
don't
not
feel
have the
comfortable.
hard wash
We
washer?
had one of those like
Yeah, spray it down.
fire
Yeah.
hoses.
And then you put it in the slider, and you slide it in. You
still
close
don't
down the
trust
thing,
it.
and you hit that sanitizer button.
What
gotta
is-
put
but
the
what does it
Sanitags
do?
in
I
it.
need to be in
Oh,
there.
we didn't have
Super,
to It was
super
ours was
hot.
auto fed.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you open it and you're just like steam for days. Okay, anyway.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Boston Pizza.
Boston Pizza, which is basically a Pizza Hut. At the time, I was vegetarian, almost vegan, but couldn't give up eggs. He knew this as we discussed splitting a pizza. We opted to get our own meal, no big deal. He ordered a burger wrapped in bacon with a side of wings. Worth mentioning, I don't give a shit what anyone else eats. Our meals came. Convo was fine. He starts offering me bites of his food. I pass.
Yeah.
He then starts eating very loudly and moaning that, oh God, it's so good.
Okay.
And I had to order a meal that was every animal since you're not having any.
Okay, as somebody who doesn't eat meat anymore, I would fucking leave. And
Yeah.
as somebody who like
Just
wings was
rude.
one of my like favorite foods. Like I fucking love a good like buffalo wing or like a garlic parmesan wing. Or I loved, that would be so. It's so mean.
It's just tacky.
Also, it's tacky.
It's
Like,
tacky.
don't comment on other
It's
people's
fucking
eating
s-
choices.
Thank
Well, and
you.
also
Can we
fucking
not?
matter. It doesn't concern
if you have a problem with it, don't go on a date with me.
Hi.
Right.
You knew
Like
this.
if you have a problem with it, and it's just like also people have all different kinds of reasons for not wanting to eat meat. It's very, very, very disrespectful to be commenting on it like that.
Yeah.
Like I don't care what anybody else eats
also,
at all.
just, yeah.
But don't
comment
that.
in general on anything anybody eats ever. Doesn't matter if I
Absolutely.
quote eat like a bird or quote eat like a
Absolutely.
man or
oh,
quote,
she should eat a sandwich.
Or-
It's like,
yeah.
no.
just don't fucking.
It's
just
weird
don't.
too. It's also just like so weird. It's so
Why?
weird to comment on something that literally doesn't affect you
It's
at all.
completely
Stop.
frivolous and
Stop
stupid.
it.
It's
Gross.
dumb. Anyway, okay, fucking weird. We finish and he suggests grabbing a coffee before I get dropped off at home. We grab a coffee and he starts driving in the opposite direction of my house, saying, let's go for a quick drive. Okay, I can do that. The convo turns weird now. First of all, no, I do not. If we've planned to drive toward my house, I'm jumping out of the car at the next stop.
Oh,
sign.
tuck
There's-
and motherfucking
yeah.
roll.
I am.
There's a real theme here with these stories. It's
I
just
was
like,
just going to say danger, Will Robinson.
danger,
Like-
red flags,
Yeah.
flags. Like
Well,
roll out.
It gets so much worse.
Oh,
Yeah.
No.
He starts talking about his obsession with the dead, how he drives a hearse that he bought from a funeral home, how he has no fear of death, and if he could, he'd love to experience it more than once.
Wait,
Death.
how do you know that you would love to experience it more than once? You've never experienced it.
He
Okay.
would love to experience it more than once.
So far for dates, we've got a murderer.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
We have a domestic assault.
Yeah.
And now we have a kidnapping.
Yeah. it ain't
funny,
good.
but, like,
We
yeah.
are a Dateline episode.
Oh,
Where's
it's
Keith
not
Morrison?
good.
It's
No.
not good.
No.
The bad situation.
Where's Josh Mankiewicz when we need him?
I know.
What the fuck? I kind of just muttered some then he mentioned his career and how he is the best in the world and wins so many competitions, and he has been robbed of so many wins. He's a tattoo artist. Of course he is.
Oh no.
This is the most okay. I'm sorry. I'm apologizing in advance to tattoo artists, but you guys do know you have to have, like, you guys have to understand that you have a reputation, right? Like, I feel like hairdressers have a reputation. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that we all know this guy. And he has tattooed one of us.
I ran a tattoo shop
Yes.
in South Beach right across the street from Miami Ink. So
You know these guys.
I know.
Well, I mean,
Tattoo
it's just like,
artists.
and again, it's like hashtag not all tattoo artists, hashtag not all bartenders, but bartenders have a reputation too. It's the same kind of, thing.
Right.
Yeah.
From there, he decided to, quote, rate my tattoos from shitty to god awful.
I will tuck and roll out of this car. We are done. We are fucking done. Like,
Yeah.
What are you supposed to do with that information? It's fucking permanent on your body.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks
What
for
are you
making
gonna
me
do?
feel like
Your
shit.
And
tattoos
they're
are
never going to be good
so
enough. If you've ever met a tattoo artist, they're always going to be like, "Oh, that's not that
criticize because they
That's
would
not
have done
that
something
good.
different.
I would have done it this way."
I feel like your tattoos also are so fucking personal. And like, even like the first tattoo I have on my body, I look at it sometimes and I'm like, yeah, it's not perfect. Like there are things about it that like aren't perfect about it, but like it's mine.
Yeah.
And like, I don't need your opinion about it. If I really hated it, I would cover it up. And I don't.
Yeah.
So like,
My
go
first
fuck you.
Yeah.
Like,
My first tattoo is so sentimental to me, and it's shit. It is a shite tattoo. It didn't live up very long. And to be honest with you, I got it with a friend who's now passed, and it will always have such sentimentality, like such sentimental like place for me because of that. That has very little to do with what that is or what that thing is or what it looks like as much as the moment and the experience and the thing that will always live in my brain for the rest of my life.
Well, this person just seems like they think that their opinion is important.
yeah.
Not just about the tattoos,
About
but about
everything.
the food.
Don't
and
comment on
everything
what
like
I'm
that.
eating. Don't comment on what's on my fucking body. You
Why do you
weirdo.
think that your opinion is important? Who are you? Do you know?
He and how, of course, he's going to rate them between shitty and god awful and how he would have done them. I had like 3 at the time. All of them are words. Like, what are you? What? Oh, okay.
I would have used
done
this font.
I would have done that in cursive. What?
Okay.
Like, okay, cool. Somehow he manages to steer the convo to sex. Somehow. That sounds right.
Really? Yeah, like it wouldn't take much.
Yeah, it sounds right. And how he never has sex on the first date and how he never eats the cat. Okay.
Oh, whoa. Okay.
Because he hates blood. Do you think
Does it bleed all the time?
throw
You fucking
this
weirdo.
table.
How old are you? There are whoa. I'm sorry. My brain just
the
short
same
circuited.
guys that won't eat pussy are the same ones whose tip of their dick smells like Fritos. Like
it does?
honestly,
I'm
those
sorry. I just screamed into the mic. I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry.
I wasn't expecting you to say that.
It is the same one. They're like, I don't eat pussy, like, but and it's like they have the smelliest.
Have you washed your dick lately?
Exactly,
Sir.
Just dick cheese.
Have you washed your dick lately?
Ooh,
yeah.
No,
Have you washed your dick lately?
Oh, I can't. Why are you bringing this up? First of all, you don't have sex on the first date. Amazing, because you're not going to have sex on this date either.
Yeah.
Secondly, it's not a brag that you don't,
Eat pussy.
right? Like, it's just like, that's a thing that,
I think this is the titty talk.
right?
I think this
is the titty talk that was alluded to.
titty talk corner
Yeah.
here. Okay.
Yeah, but that's the truth. I mean, this is exactly why I hope my boss never listens ever. But it's just like, it's like you realize like that's a thing that like people who have clits want you to do, right?
Like foreplay.
They like
Holy
it.
shit.
They
Those
kind
are
of like
the
that
same
thing.
guys.
This is why
that
I can't foreplay because I'm like done.
a blowjob before ever, but it's like the same thing. It's like blow them, then you have penetrative sex, and then
Good
it's
night,
done.
night.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and the penetrative sex is like fucking
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
If it's a guy, you have to fucking suck off first
yeah.
before penetrate. That sex
so
is gonna
glad we're back
fucking
together.
Suck
This is great.
so bad. You
This
know
is
it
amazing.
is. You know it is. You fucking know it is. God damn. Anyway, and he hates blood. Fucking sir,
Dude,
sir.
It's like 3 to 5 days out of a month,
Right.
Like, it's like nothing.
also, yeah, it's
7
like,
at most.
At most, I mean, unless
Sir.
something weird's going on,
Oh, I hate this guy. But he reassured me, you guys.
Thanks so much.
He has, quote, the magic touch and could make me come with a few finger strokes.
But not on the first date because you don't do that, right?
I assured him he could not. And I wasn't interested in testing his theory.
Please keep your fucking gross ass fingers
those
out
fingers
of
are
my.
nasty. You know they are. Oh.
Yeah, the nails are
Ew,
dirty.
ew, you
Dirty.
know you got dirty
I've
nails.
always thought about that where I'm just like, I have never been fingered by someone who has like
Clean
dirty
nails.
fingernails.
Ah!
Whoa!
That's what I'm saying.
Have you never been fingered by someone who has clean nails?
No, of course I have.
Oh, okay, great.
no, but yeah, the like with his like dirt.
A
Where you're like,
ridge,
did you
a
just come in
ridge.
from gardening?
Yeah.
Did you plant some maters? And now you want to finger
that's
bang?
it
That's
looks
some
like
real
it
high
looks
school
like
shit right there.
you have spent all day doing charcoal drawings. It's just like
charcoal drawing.
what's happening? Why are
Oh
your
no, I
hands
need that wash. I
black?
need a
I
full
know.
wash first, sir. Oh my god. And I wasn't interested in testing his theory. He called me a prude because I wouldn't, quote, get fingered on first
My
date.
feelings are so hurt, mister. I don't eat pussy.
But his opinions are number one.
His appearance. Oh, my God.
And he's only against sex on the first date, not fingering. So you're
My bad.
really missing out. bruh.
Whoopsie daisy.
He had driven us pretty far into the country, and so the convo dried up. So he started playing extremely heavy metal full blast. He is a tattoo artist.
Oh, my.
This is so tracking.
So you're in the middle of the country.
Blasting
Oh
fucking
my-
what I can
Metallica,
only assume
yeah.
Metallica. I'm like, I was about to say Megadeth, and she's like, Metallica. Just
I
like,
don't know.
understand, man. I'm like Iron Maiden, just like Metallica.
Wow.
Yes, I am judging your metal choices right now. Thankfully, it was better than the shit he was talking about. The entire date was during the winter, so the windows were up, and he's chain smoking the entire time.
Oh.
My eyes are watering. This is awful.
I hate this date so
I-
much.
I get home, and he tells me, quote, tonight was nice, but don't expect a second date.
Okay.
He's just like, okay, perfect. Exactly. No, okay.
Mutual
God.
ghost.
Bye.
Goodbye.
I get inside, shower, get into bed, and I see that I have some messages. Lo and behold, it's him saying his fingers were itching to show me a good time.
Oh, that's the worst
I'm gonna
text
throw up.
ever.
My fingers are itching to show you a good time.
It makes me think
Bed
of the
bugs.
hand from
It's like-
Adam's Family.
It's so gross. Something about like fingers and itching just feel like it feels like a skin virus. You know what I mean? Like a rash. I don't want that.
It also makes me feel like he doesn't know his way down there at all.
No.
He's taking labia folds and just rubbing them together. or
Oh
something.
yeah, he's
a fucking
somebody
mess.
that's like rubbing
Yes.
super fast, and you're like,
Yes, sir.
not fast and hard. Someone that literally just starts
Just
like at this pace,
fucking
and you're like,
Nintendo controlling down there. Yes.
oh, definitely,
Sorry, I cannot.
just a button masher for sure.
Oh, a button masher, just like a windshield wiper. I cannot. It's
God. He says, my fingers are itching to show you a good time, and I shouldn't be such a prude. Needless to say, I blocked him and moved
Yes.
on.
Yes,
amen.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Oh my God.
Wow.
What a treasure trove. I really need to take 5 before we come back.
my eyes
from
are
this date.
watering.
I want to give just like a blanket apology to our editor Thomas for the number of times that I think I yelled into the microphone, and I didn't mean to. There were some surprises, like
Yeah.
some things came out
Some
of left
whammies.
field, and I wasn't ready.
All that titty talk, man.
Whoa.
Yes. Well, we'll be right back with the Tainted Love.
And we're back.
I love that no one knows who's doing
one
that
knows.
on the second break.
It's a new thing.
I
We
like
just
it.
we wanted to break up the advertisers for you guys to make it, a little bit less intrusive.
Yeah.
But if you want to help us out, the people we actually approve all the advertisers.
That's right.
So yeah, check them out. We only approve the ones that we like.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And we
true.
feel like align with us. And to be fair, sometimes every now and again, we'll get like a rando that kind of pops through. And if you hear something that you're like, that doesn't feel like them, we want to
Please
know
let
about
us
it.
know.
We've actually had somebody
Absolutely.
reach out to us about an ad that had popped through and that we weren't aware.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
we
was-
had
I
no
guess we
idea how
should-
like Sabra hummus,
Yeah.
or something like that.
We should clarify that we approve ones that we read.
This is true.
So if anything comes through where it's a ad that we're not reading, that you're like, whoa, I feel like that doesn't feel like them. Let us know because
we are
can,
not recruiting you to the army.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. We're not asking you to be all you can be. Like, we can reach out. In fact, don't, because like life is short and it's hard.
It
just,
really is.
Just be what you want.
That's our motto.
That's my advice to you.
Yeah.
Be easy and relax is my motto. But yeah, so if you hear anything, please let us know, and we will ask that advertiser be removed because
Yeah, we care about you guys.
You know us.
Yeah.
You know us
Yeah.
at this point. Alrighty. I have the Tainted Love this week. This was actually something, it's kind of fun. It's not fun. The story is not fun. But it is fun that someone on TikTok tagged us in this story. Someone else on TikTok had made someone else on TikTok had made a video about this story. And I had vaguely heard about this as a concept, but didn't know any of the details of this story. So when they tagged us in it, I was like, I will send that to myself.
I love
and
that
I will
you're
do
doing
it.
this.
Yeah, I will do it on my next Tainted Love. So if you are listening, thank you so much for suggesting it. So I got most of my information from a blog, and then also ABC News and The Advocate. And then there is a Forensic Files. Most of my stuff is from a Forensic Files episode, season 8, episode 9.
Luminol.
Luminol.
I love it.
The vibe of Forensic Files.
Especially the earlier ones.
Oh,
It is incredible. Like all the background music and the lighting is so bad. It's
awful.
amazing. But all of these sources, as always, will be posted on our website if you want to go check that out, myworstatepodcast.com. Okay. In late 1994, Janice Trahan, who's a registered nurse and a single mother of 2 boys in Lafayette, Louisiana, started developing strange symptoms. So it started as ocular pain. And when she went to her doctor, they told her that it was most likely sinuses and not to worry too much about it. So her eyes were hurting.
I am worried about it.
I'm worried about it. Like
I have a tumor, and I want you to scan my brain immediately.
I mean, you have eye issues, Christina. Like
a million.
Because I feel like for me, if my eyes are hurting, I've had a lot of sinuses and colds and COVID, and I feel like my eyes don't hurt often.
My eyes have a lot of things going on with them. My eyes have never hurt. I feel like that's a bad
I feel like it's not
sign.
sinuses,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm like,
I gotta be honest. I had sinus stuff
yeah,
done.
you did.
Does it make your
My
eyeballs
eyes,
hurt?
Did
my
they
eyes
hurt?
did hurt.
Like, is
Ooh.
it pressure from the sinuses?
Because it depends, because there's sinuses above and below your eyes. So if
Okay.
you get like a lot of impaction in the, like a lot of stuff built in there, it can. I've definitely had where like I've had a headache that literally lives like right like
above
a
and below
eyeball.
your eyes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's what they said. So she went in. She's like, that's how it started. She's like, I'm having some like ocular pain. I don't really know what's going on. And they were like, it's probably sinuses. Relax, right?
Still don't want you to tell me to relax ever.
Yeah.
I don't
chill
wanna have
out.
to
First of all, Janice, chill. Right? Okay. So she then started experiencing like really extreme fatigue, and she'd experienced fatigue for a long time.
I have a tumor.
But this was like extreme fatigue. And I will say, I was just telling you during the break that like from COVID, I feel like I've had 2 symptoms that linger. And one is a persistent cough. Even though I don't have COVID anymore, I just have a cough that won't stop. And it's made me very self-conscious, like at work and stuff like that.
Right, because you
I'm
can't
like,
cough at all
everyone
anymore.
thinks I'm dying. And then also fatigue. Like when I get tired now, I get so tired that I feel like I have to sleep and I can't do anything else. Like I feel like that's a lingering COVID symptom maybe. But so she had very extreme fatigue, and it's something she'd experienced on and off her whole life. But this was to a degree that was noticeable to her. And then also she had lymph node swelling in her throat. So when she went to her gynecologist for a checkup, and she was just talking to her gynecologist about all these symptoms that she's having, her gynecologist was the one who was actually like, hey, maybe you have a virus. Like, why don't I order like some blood tests and see, just
I don't
check,
know.
right?
Thank
just check.
you.
So when the results came back, they not only showed that Janice was unexpectedly pregnant, but they also showed that she was HIV positive.
Baby snakes.
Right. So this was devastating for Janice, who didn't know where she could have contracted this virus. So this was 1994.
I was going to ask when, yeah.
And yeah, in 1994, so early 90s. So the HIV and AIDS epidemic had just kind of swept through
at that point.
And it wasn't very well understood, even for a registered nurse like Janice. Like it was just not. At this point, it was a death sentence, I feel like.
Yeah, it was,
HIV.
for sure.
This case is so fucked up.
Yeah, I knew you knew. I looked at your face and I was like, she knows what I'm talking about.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no, I saw that TikTok. I was like, oh, that is actually a good one.
Yeah,
I'm
it
glad
is.
that you grabbed it.
Yeah. So Janice was, of course, she was terrified. I mean, it's a very scary, I feel like it would be a very scary prospect now at the time, even more so.
Oh my God. At
So
the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a death sentence then. It
Yeah.
was. It was
really
absolutely.
you feel that way. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we learned all about Jacob White. Yeah. I mean, that was, yeah.
So she was so terrified at this point that she opted to end her pregnancy for fear that the child may contract the disease, right? Like, I mean, at this point, you think that HIV is a death sentence. You don't want to pass that on. She's already a single mother to 2 sons.
Yeah.
It was very scary for her. So hospital authorities had Janice call every sexual partner she'd had over the last 10 years and tested their blood in an effort to discover who had infected Janice. All of the results were negative.
And she's a nurse though too.
Exactly. So they started to think like maybe this had something to do with one of your patients. Maybe one of your patients got you sick. So they're doing all of this investigating at this time. So months went by and a suspicion continued to nag at Janice, so much so that 5 months after her diagnosis in early 1995, she drove to the DA's office and she shared a story with him.
I'm watching. I'm like, I want to see the fucking shock on Cassie's face.
No.
She told him that she believed that her primary care physician, a man named Richard Schmidt, was responsible for her having contracted the virus.
The guy that she works for.
So not works for, but is her doctor.
Oh, is her doctor.
Mm-hmm. So she went on to say that in addition to being her doctor, she and Richard had also had a personal romantic relationship for many years and that she had only recently ended the relationship. So the DA, I mean, of course, he was skeptical, but he assigned detectives to look into it further. And when they questioned Janice as to how Richard could have infected her, she told them, "That son of a bitch injected me." So Richard J. Schmidt was one of the most respected physicians in Lafayette, Louisiana, and was well liked by his patients. Like, so at this point, I mean, they're like, I don't know, he is really kind of this like beacon of the community. Lafayette, Louisiana is not a very big place.
Right.
All of his patients speak very highly of him. And even Janice herself, when she talks about him, is like, he was very knowledgeable, very well liked by his patients. There is an age gap there. And she met him when she was doing kind of her like initial, not residency, but whatever nurses do, kind of like early on when she was very young. And he is a bit older than her. And I think she was
like
very...
an apprenticeship kind of situation? Or...
Yeah, I just think she was very enamored with him. And she says like he was so good with his patients and so smart and such a good doctor. And that's the reputation that he had, right? So Janice, like I said, had first met Richard about 10 years earlier. They were both working at the same hospital. He was a doctor. She was a nurse. And though they were both married at the time that they met, her with 1 young son and him with 3 children, they quickly began an affair. Richard wrote love letters to Janice telling her that he intended on leaving his spouse to be with her, and she agreed to do the same, which she did.
Never leave.
Yeah, I mean, she left. She left her husband because she's like, yes, we're going to do this thing. We have a pact. I'm leaving my husband.
I'm all you first.
Bye. Yeah.
I'll follow right behind.
Yeah, I'll be right behind you. But she did. She left her husband, and she had 1 young son at the time. And he never held up his end of the bargains. This is in the late 80s.
You're not serious. This can't be true.
No way. So this is in the late 1980s, but still the two continue to have an affair. She stayed with him. And in early 1991, although he is married with 3 children, Janice became pregnant with Richard's child, and they had a son in 1991 named Jeffrey. Richard agreed to pay child support and continued to tell Janice that he would leave his wife, but never followed through. Janice fell pregnant a couple more times throughout their relationship, and she would later say that Richard forced her to end those pregnancies. So he, kind of coerced her into having abortions because he didn't want to.
Right.
And even though he paid child support for their son together,
what does his wife think this money is going toward?
Who knows? Who knows?
Dude, I have actually known couples. I think it's like one of my aunts or whatever. It was never involved with the finances at all. Like at all.
Wow.
So when my uncle passed, it was just like
chaos.
all shoulders. Like how
right.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, maybe she wasn't like involved with the home's finances at all.
Right, because I'm assuming he's paying for these abortions as well.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so I don't know. He seems like the kind of guy who kind of took charge of all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So I really doubt that she had any
This kind of makes me want to get
say.
re-involved in my finances.
Right? I mean, we have
I stepped away because I was working remotely, I was working on the road.
Yeah.
So I'm like, Chris,
Anthony
you
and I have
to.
separate finances, so who fucking knows? I mean, like, we don't look at each other's stuff, so I don't know.
He actually makes quite a bit more than he tells you.
It's like, oh my God, wow. But yeah, I mean, so just really awful. Like, she just doesn't feel empowered in this relationship. He has kind of bullied her to hear her tell it, to get abortions that she didn't necessarily want to get. So frustrated, Janice attempted to end their relationship multiple times. Each time he would become enraged and threaten her in numerous ways. One time he threatened to post sexually explicit photos he had taken of her to a bulletin board at the hospital where she worked,
That's
which is
not
old
okay.
school. What an old school way to, it's like, because now you would post it to their
That's like-
social media or whatever. Like,
the
he's
origin of revenge porn.
he's like, I
Wow.
will print it out and I will go get some thumbtacks
Jesus Christ.
and I will post it to the literal bulletin board
Oh no.
at your job, which is
so fucked up, dude.
so fucked up.
Yeah.
He threatened to ruin her career because, again, he was very well respected in their career
And then I
field.
just moved to a different city.
And honestly, this is the reason why, like, people rail against power dynamics in relationships.
That's right.
Because if something goes wrong, there is the very real probability of abuse.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, this was a field she wanted to be in, wanted to stay in. And he was basically like, I will go to all of your professors at all of the schools you graduated from, and I will tell them that you plagiarized all your work, and they'll believe me because of who I am and who you are.
Wow.
I'm a doctor, you're a nurse. And like, it was just basically like, I could take your whole career down.
Oh,
Yeah, he's just a
piece of
really shitty guy. When she attempted to see other men, Richard would stalk them, following them throughout the night. If he felt things were becoming too serious between Janice and another man, Richard would threaten the man. In one case, even showing up at a date's house and threatening to kill him.
Jesus Christ.
when do you have time to work and also be with your actual family?
You don't. Well, I mean, I think like there was something that a doctor or a psychologist or a couple therapist or whoever put up on TikTok where they were saying like these are the careers where you're most likely to cheat. Like where you're, and
I saw that.
surgeon and doctor
Yes.
were pretty high up because I think the hours are so erratic,
Right.
that like they're gone so much of the time anyway. So I think that you just kind of feel like, well, if they're not home, I think that's kind of the norm.
Yeah.
They keep really odd hours.
Yeah.
And they're gone so much of the time. So Janice was afraid to leave Richard, but eventually gave him an ultimatum. And she said, leave your wife and marry me or we're done. Which at this point, I'm like, do you want to marry him?
Exactly.
Why do you want to
Honey.
marry him? He sounds horrible.
I think, though, at a certain point, there were a lot of things that I went up to before my marriage. And there's like, I don't know if it's, I don't want to say it's competitive or something, but it's like cost sunk fallacy.
Oh, yeah. You've already spent this much time and energy.
Yeah.
And also they have a kid together, which
Yeah.
is something. And she's left her husband. Like, you've done a lot of things at this point for this person that you're like, if this is still on the table, if this is still an option.
It's difficult to think rationally about it. It's like, you don't want that. You really don't.
Well,
you
and-
shouldn't. But it's difficult to see the forest through the trees. At
Yeah.
that
And
point.
at this point, they've had almost a decade of a relationship.
Exactly.
Right. So you also remember, and we've said it before, no relationship, no matter how abusive, is all negative all the time.
That's right.
Like there's good stuff in there that like
Right.
you want to cling to. You have a kid with this person. You've left your husband for this person. They're well respected, member of the community. You've created a whole inner life and fantasy about what your life would be like with this person. It's not as easy as like just walk away, even
Right.
though it feels like it should be, So she gives him that ultimatum and he told her that if she ever left him, he would fix it so that no man would ever want her again. So he told her, if I can't have you, no one can have you. Same old same. We've heard it a million times. Please get more creative. I mean, or don't.
Please don't. Actually, don't get creative at all.
When Richard again failed to leave his wife, Janice ended their personal relationship, but continued to see Richard as her doctor. Which is
what is wrong with you?
I feel very uncomfortable.
Are there no other doctors in town?
I don't know.
Healthcare is a bitch in this country.
I mean, it is, but I also think that maybe
switching your primary care physician
is not as hard as.
And she doesn't elaborate on this in the Forensic Files episode because she is interviewed and she speaks on it, and she doesn't really elaborate on it. But I think maybe it was just more of just that feeling of like we can end things on an okay note. Right. Like we can still be okay.
Yeah. We have a kid together. We can be fine.
Right. After all of this, you know, it's naive, you know? So throughout their 10-year relationship, Richard had been treating Janice's chronic fatigue with vitamin B12 shots, usually administering them at her home. So not long after their breakup in August of 1994, Janice is awoken in the night by the sound of her phone ringing. She picks up and Richard is on the other line. He tells her that he needs to administer one of her B12 shots and that he's nearby her house, so he's just going to stop by.
No.
At like 10 p.m., like 10:30.
No.
Right. And she says later that she thinks that he's going to spend the night. So I kind of wonder if maybe in her mind she thinks like this is kind of a ruse for him to come over.
Oh, okay.
So
all right.
maybe that's me
that makes
completely
sense.
speculating because she does say like, I thought he was going to stay the night. So maybe she's like, oh, he called me at 10:30 at night saying he needs to administer a B12 shot.
Wink,
maybe
wink.
he wants to administer something else.
Right.
Administer that B12.
Right, exactly. I'll give you some energy, right? Yeah. So not long after this. So this is August 4th, 1994, and he arrives minutes later at her house. Janice feels that something's off right away. Like he comes in, he's kind of like manic and weird.
Nope.
And then he injects her right away, comes in, like syringe ready.
Oh, Jesus.
Injects her, and she feels like this is not like any B12 shot she's ever gotten before. It's painful. That's what she said. Is like these B12 shots she's ever gotten. It's a vitamin shot. It's never been painful before, and this is extremely painful. And she says she's never felt pain like that from a shot in her life. And normally Richard would stick around. And like I said, she thought he was going to stay the night. And instead he runs from the room. Like she's like, he gave me the shot and then he ran out of the room immediately.
Which is
not
weird.
Suspicious at all. It's
weird.
It seems fine.
Don't be suspicious.
Don't be suspicious.
So after her HIV diagnosis, Janice became convinced that Richard had actually injected her with the virus, but police didn't believe her. So there was one detective. This is another thing about Forensic Files, because it's all like from the 90s where it's just like you get some takes where you're like, ooh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there was one detective who was interviewed and he said that initially he didn't believe her and believed that this was just an attempt by Janice to discredit and embarrass the doctor, possibly in an effort to extort money from him, which like, okay. Still.
Got nothing better to do, huh?
Yeah, just like she's just trying to take down this upstanding man. Still, to their credit, because the bar is so low, they agreed to look into her accusation, which I actually do think is something because they could have just been like,
absolutely.
That's insane, you know, and not
They're like,
anything.
We'll give her a little credit and do the bare minimum.
Mm-hmm. But they were like, we'll take a look. And they actually did take a look. So she told them that she had donated blood just a few months before Richard had given her that injection. So they checked her blood records from that day and found that she had been negative for HIV at the time, which narrowed down the window to when she could have been infected. They were like, okay, well, she didn't have HIV like 2 months before she says that this injection happened.
Right.
They checked Richard's phone records and found that, just as Janice had said, a call had been placed to Janice's home on the night in question at 10:30 p.m. So starting to look a little bit sketch, but still, if Richard had injected Janice with HIV, how did he get an infected sample? Because it's not just that easy. It's
Right,
not like
right,
you can
right.
just like walk in anywhere and be like,
Can I get the HIV
I would like that,
syringe,
please.
Thank
Thank you so much. So the virus could only live outside the body for about 12 hours before it was inviolable. The nurses at Richard's office took meticulous records of every patient that had their blood drawn on any given day. So they knew they needed to look at the day in question within 12 hours. They were like, okay, this is only viable within 12 hours. So like, let's look at everyone who had their blood drawn. When they looked through the records, surprise, surprise, the records from that day were missing. As they were looking for the records, they found the sexually explicit photos of Janice in his drawer. He had them at work, the ones that he was intending on using. Well, I mean, listeners can't see.
See me fake whack off.
Yeah. Cassie was making a jerk off motion, which maybe he used them for that. I think he probably
Spank
had
bank.
them on the ready to extort her at any given time in his desk.
He sounds like a great guy.
He's a real piece of shit. So they combed through the rest of his office and found nothing, and they were about to leave when they discovered a locked storage cabinet in another part of the office that was full of boxes. When they opened the one marked 1982 records, they found the log for the day they were looking for hidden in one of the books. So he kept the log for like that for that week of blood
And
withdrawals.
he'll just put it back when no one's paying attention anymore.
Which is just kind of weird because it's just like, why not take it home? Why not get rid of it? Why keep it? Like, why not throw it away, burn it, do something else?
Well, they might need it later if that specific patient comes back and they need his records, the one that he took,
Yeah. So in the record book, the nurses would write the patient's name and information. And then next to that, they would put a sticker with the tracking number for the lab so that they could send it to track the sample. So next to one of the entries from the day, from August 4th, they noticed that there was no sticker indicating that it had never been sent to the lab. So they're like, record, all of them have stickers, and then there's one that has no sticker. So it wasn't sent to the lab. So there was a note for it that said that it was a sample for Dr. Schmidt specifically.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. So police tracked down the person whose blood had been taken and asked if he was HIV positive, and he told them that he had actually been diagnosed with AIDS. Like he had AIDS.
Full-blown AIDS, yeah.
Yeah. So when they asked why he went in to have his blood drawn on August 4th, he said that he didn't intend on going in. It was actually Dr. Schmidt who called him, who was like, you need to come in. It's an emergency. We need to have your blood drawn. And he knows he has AIDS.
Fucked up.
That's so
fucked up.
You're fucking with somebody who feels like their life is at risk, and you're telling them this is an emergency. You need to come in and have your blood drawn right now.
Awful.
Also, he could take this guy's blood. It's diabolical. It is truly, truly fucking evil. So authorities requested a blood sample from the patient to test against the strain of HIV that Janice was now diagnosed with. Now, this was 1994. They had never tested one strain of HIV against another strain. This is what makes it such a fascinating Forensic Files episode.
Sure.
Right.
And DNA testing at this time obviously was not what it is today. They went to a genetic scientist at Baylor University and asked him if it was even possible to compare the DNA in a virus. And he said that although it was different than comparing the DNA in individuals because a virus is always changing and mutating when it enters the body, that it was possible. And that's something that I'd never really thought about. Comparing DNA for something that is changing, like and evolving constantly is really interesting. So he examined the samples of 30 people with HIV and AIDS, including Janice's as well as the patient, and discovered that 28 of the samples had mutated in vastly different ways, but that 2 of the samples, that of Janice and the patient, the viruses were nearly identical.
Wow.
So they mutated in almost an identical way. So the chances that they weren't from the same source were 1 in a million. Like they were like, it has to be from the same source.
Wow.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
This is what Forensic Files was made
I
for.
know.
Because the science behind it is truly fascinating.
Yeah, truly.
But it does have an ability to erasure the real people behind it too. Because when you think about it, like it's so fascinating. But I'm just thinking, this is a woman who has 2 fucking children.
Right.
Who was literally given
Yeah.
a virus that is known to be a full death sentence.
Yeah.
Right.
That is
Yeah.
so fucking awful. And this poor guy
Just is a footnote in this situation that
Yes.
happened.
Yeah.
is being used.
They give his name on forensic files, but I don't know. I felt very weird about sharing his name.
Yeah.
Because I was just
HIPAA
like,
laws.
he didn't. I mean, it couldn't have been because they shared it on forensic files, but like, I just don't feel comfortable with it because I'm
Yeah.
like, he didn't ask to be part of this at all. Like, he was just a person who has a virus whose
did nothing that
DNA got stolen
Yeah.
to do harm to someone else. Like that's
God.
it's so awful. It's so
just
awful.
the worst, honestly.
Mhm. In July of 1996, Richard Schmidt was arrested and charged with attempted second-degree murder. While the prosecution was building their case,
I honestly don't see how it's
Attempted.
not first degree attempt.
Yeah,
you know what I
planned
mean?
it.
Because it's
You
how the
planned it.
premeditation
Is
that
strong.
went into this shit is fucking the most.
I agree.
Out of any
I agree.
fucking
It's-
murder I've ever seen. I don't understand how it's second degree.
and it gets worse and it gets worse.
No.
So while the prosecution was building their case, they noticed that the same blood results that revealed that Janice had HIV also revealed that she was
hell no.
positive for
Hell.
hepatitis C. So on a hunch, they checked the 1994 records again in Richard Schmidt's office, and they found that a woman's name from 2 days before August 4th, who had had blood drawn, who also didn't have a sticker next to her name, happened to have hepatitis C. So they speculated that Richard
That's
took
a real fast death
yeah,
sentence. That's what that
they
is.
took her blood and they took the blood from the patient who had HIV. He mixed them together, and hepatitis C is known to weaken the immune system, right? So he combined these 2 blood samples, injected her with both. So now she has hepatitis C and HIV, and it is spoiler alert,
loaded
it's
gun.
a miracle that Janice is still alive. She is still alive.
How?
I'm going to go ahead and
Currently now?
currently now.
No way.
And it is a miracle of modern
How?
science because he did everything. That's what I mean when I'm like, second degree murder. Are you kidding me? Because he did everything in his power
Yeah.
to make sure that she
He
would
shot
suffer.
her in the head with a bullet,
He honestly did.
and
He
she
did,
just
and
happened
she
to survive.
survived.
That's
Yeah.
what this is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I am shook.
I know. So during the trial, Richard maintained his innocence, saying that he
Okay.
had an alibi. He was with his wife all night, who stuck by him.
Oh,
By the way,
honey.
you can see footage of them going into like the trial and stuff together. Like, and he's like holding her, like arm wrapped around her. He had an affair with. He had a mistress for 10 years, a full on mistress. Had a kid with this person. Was paying child
Wow.
support. And like during the trial, he refused to accept paternity of this kid, but had been paying child support for the last 10 years. So it was just kind of like,
guess what's easier to find out? That this kid is yours.
I know.
Right?
Just go on fucking Maury.
Right.
I know.
Honestly.
But so he continued to deny that he had done anything despite all of this evidence. Like, why did you hide these logs? Why did you take these like samples? Like,
We
it's
have
so,
you calling her at 10:30 at night.
Mhm.
Like,
yeah,
like
all
she
these things.
said.
So he says that he had an alibi for the whole night. He was with his wife. The only time they were apart all night was when she took a 20-minute bath. So the prosecution determined that it was possible for Richard to drive from his home, inject Janice, and drive
that's
back.
why she ran. That's why
why
he
he
Why he
ran.
ran out.
I forgot
Because
that part.
It was 17 minutes to drive to her house, the time it would take to come into her house, inject her, leave, and get back to his house was 17 minutes. So that's why he was in such a rush. He knew he had 12 hours from the time he got the HIV positive blood, and he knew he only had a very small window when his wife was in the bathtub to administer the shot. So,
I cannot believe she's alive.
mhm.
I literally cannot believe she's alive.
Yep.
That is wigging me out.
I know. On October 23rd, 1998, he was convicted of attempted second-degree murder and was sentenced to 50 years in prison. He maintains his innocence and as recently as 2015 was denied parole.
Goodbye.
He is eligible for early release for good behavior in
Fuck him.
2023.
Fuck
So pray that doesn't happen.
Somebody that's able to
the cold-heartedness and the
That's
way
a psychopath.
you have hurt not just
Full-blooded.
Janice, but like
Your
so many
son?
other people.
You're carrying on a 10-year affair. Though your son, there's just
Your
so
other
much
family,
here.
your patients, who you've completely taken advantage of as a doctor who's like took an oath to do no harm. Like truly disgusting and terrifying.
Did all the harm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Janice Trahan remarried, and though she says she deals daily with side effects of her illness and is currently on disability and unable to work, she maintains a positive outlook on life and feels the ordeal has made her want to treasure every day she gets with her children and grandchildren.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What a fucking wild
know.
story.
Thank you for that recommendation.
Yes, thank you so much for those people that are
Wow.
tagging us on TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. We see it.
We see it.
And we appreciate it for sure. Wow. That was...
Wild.
I...
So
Can you
wild,
believe it?
right?
There is a diet, like it is, we've told some real fucked up
Yeah.
stories on this show.
This
And there is
is
a
really taking the
diabolical element to
Yeah.
you have chosen, there's something so sinister about like not just going in and killing somebody, but like choosing this thing where you can watch them suffer.
The
I
level
don't know,
of premeditation is just out of this world.
Right.
It's so
Wow.
deeply upsetting. But I also do want to point out that like we are at a point now. I don't want it to come across as though we are like really harshly stigmatizing anyone.
Absolutely. It's
who
a
is-
completely manageable thing now.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And we know that now. And
Yeah.
we know that now. But in 1994,
It was not then.
It wasn't something
No,
that we
it was a
thought
death
it
sentence
was.
at the time.
Or we thought it was. Like it was definitely this
They
thing
didn't
that
have the drugs that they have now. You had cocktails and it was very difficult. I mean, in 1994, it like
We just
now we
didn't know.
can manage it
yeah.
in such a way that it's so almost, you know,
yeah.
But it would have
non-existent
been
for a lot of
such a
people.
completely
Oh.
devastating thing to hear
Awful.
in 1994.
Oh,
You know, and to have the added on like perplexity of not knowing like where it came from or
Sure.
why, and then to have the realization that this is somebody. I mean, clearly this man was
That you had
like
a
an
relationship with.
evil psychopath, but you were with him for 10 years. You have
Yeah.
a kid together. You loved him on some level. You had to,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
to know that somebody is capable of doing you that kind of harm, the father of your child, it's just
It's truly a
Diabolical.
heartbreaking story. That's one of the that's what blew me away the most from that story is the fact that it wasn't first degree, because
Yeah.
it just I'm like, I don't understand how that couldn't have been premeditated.
I don't
It
know.
just
I
blows my
clearly
mind.
I would like to
premeditated.
hear there are justifications for that, because there's part of me that feels like this is a well-respected, pretty wealthy doctor
The
in
fact
Louisiana.
that he got 50 years is shocking to me. I actually thought it was going to be less. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I really did.
I think they probably gave him the max that they could, and then
I'm shocked.
even with that, he has the potential to get out on good behavior next year.
Full act up.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you know, the one thing that I do hold out on is that he has not, and I don't think his ego will allow him to admit that he's guilty, that he did what he did. And parole boards and stuff don't really
Yeah.
look kindly on you not being able to accept responsibility for what you've done. So maybe that will keep him in jail.
Well, and the
Fingers
good thing
crossed.
is he will never be practicing medicine again.
No.
This is
Oh my
true.
God. What?
Oh
I mean,
my God.
outside of what he did to Janice, what as a patient,
Doctors that abuse their oaths
Oh.
are some of the most terrifying
isn't that
stories.
scary?
Like that Dr. Death, that guy
Yes.
that was just like,
Uh-huh.
I can be a spinal surgeon.
No,
I was like,
you
this
cannot,
is the most
sir.
terrifying podcast I've ever listened
I
to in
didn't
my
listen.
fucking
Oh, no.
life.
Dr. Death. Yeah,
I
it's
should
so
have.
scary.
Ooh.
But yeah, I mean, like that's the thing, and it's also like you're taking somebody in the most vulnerable
Yes.
situation of their life,
Yes.
somebody
Yes.
who's just been diagnosed with AIDS,
Oh.
and you're calling them up and you're giving them that panic of saying like, we need to take your blood right now.
It's
It's an
awful.
emergency.
Oh, God.
And it's just that they want to use your blood to do harm to someone
Crippling.
else. It's so
the
just
devastation that
tragic.
comes from that. Like,
tragic. So tragic.
It's awful.
All right. Well,
Oh,
we need a palate
yeah, yes.
cleanser. So, what are we watching this week?
Did you watch Manx? I know it's
I
probably not
did.
your thing that
I
you want to talk
did.
about. I want to talk about it.
I liked it. Go ahead
It's
and talk
good.
about it. Yeah.
I did. I feel like I talked about it already, but I'm like, I thought it was great. I thought it was so good. And
Yeah.
it was so enjoyable.
I thought it was well written. The cast is great.
I love watching Jake
Fantastic.
Johnson. He's very funny.
So funny.
Yeah.
He
good.
nails that part.
Yeah.
So like for anybody who hasn't seen it, it's this girl who starts a feminist magazine, but then decides that or ends up kind of running into this guy who makes porno magazines and ends up making trying to make a feminist porn magazine.
Yeah, I read somewhere that it was actually there was no such magazine as Minx. It was loosely based off of Playgirl and some other magazines, but it was actually, I think, a good acknowledgement of how feminist those magazines were trying to be at the time.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was fun. It was a good fun romp.
I think you'd like it, Keegan.
I will totally watch it.
It's
I've seen the trailers for it.
I couldn't stop watching it. I literally binged it in a day and a half.
I really would like to.
Yeah, it's good.
Now, are you guys ready
Okay.
for the new Call the Midwife?
What?
It's
Stop
on
it.
HBO Max.
No.
I
Okay.
want to say it's the same feel, the same vibe, the same tone.
I'm gonna cry just thinking about it right now.
Julia.
Okay.
Oh, I've heard amazing things about
Okay.
Julia. Okay.
right.
Okay. I am sold because
Now
everybody
listen,
what's it
keeps talking
about?
about it.
It takes
Julia
it's
Childs.
Julia Child.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's an actress who I really love. She's an English actress.
Sarah Livingston
Oh my god,
plays Julia Child, and she fucking just
Nails it.
gets
Well,
the essence. And
she's
doesn't feel like
insanely
a
good.
caricature. It feels like real. And then Frasier's brother, I feel really bad.
Oh,
calling him.
Oh,
Do you know who I'm talking
I know
about?
you're talking
Yes.
Yeah.
And I have the
Plays
biggest crush on him.
Paul Child plays her
Amazing.
husband.
That feels right.
And then BB Newirth,
Yeah.
who was also in Frasier,
oh yes, yes.
plays
Love
Avis,
her.
her best friend. It's a lovely world. Does it take liberties with what actually happened?
Fine with me.
beginning,
Fine with me.
and
Okay,
especially with Judith Jones, who's like an amazing editor that worked for Knopf, who I love. She basically invented cookbooks being published
Wow.
and winning awards. But regardless of that, it has that same
I'm-
feel of a
I'm-
light.
Say less. I'm so into it. Also, the woman who plays Julia Childs, she was in a show which is a very popular or was a very popular British kind of crime show called Happy Valley. Which, if you never have seen Happy Valley, she is so good in it.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's her. She is so good, and it is such a good show. I mean, I would rewatch Happy Valley. It was so good.
Okay.
Would recommend.
This is just going to make you as someone that grew up watching PBS, and I grew up watching Julia Child,
I
100%.
just got PBS. I just started paying.
love
I was like, it's
And
nice.
it's so great.
Yeah.
Antique Roadshow, yes,
Yes.
we'll watch. Julia
Did.
Child, we'll watch.
Yep.
Do you remember the Cajun Cook?
Yes, of course.
Guy?
Bam or not Bam?
Not Emerald,
no, the
but
Cajun
yeah.
Cook. Yes,
I know who
It's
you're
the
talking about.
original one.
yes,
But
yes.
It's just there's something that is very warm and comforting and
Yes.
inoffensive about the show that
Oh.
is very Call the Midwife vibes.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna
Oh my
recommend
God,
it for
in
that.
this
I love it.
absolute dumpster fire of
Yeah.
a world we're living in,
Yeah.
I will watch. I'm gonna cry thinking about watching it right now.
Mm-hmm.
I anything that makes me feel even a tiny little a quarter
Bit
of
of
a
hope.
teaspoon of comfort makes
Yes.
I'm so into that. I'm ready for it. On the opposite side of that, I watched the very first episode of Under the Banner of Heaven.
Oh yes.
Wow. I mean, it's really the only new thing I've watched. I have read a lot. Basically, in all of my spare time, I've been reading. So I've read 3 books since we recorded last, but one book that I read that I feel like I should talk about because this book is going to polarize our audience if anybody takes my suggestions seriously. Bunny by Mona Awad, A-W-A-D, is the weirdest book I think I've ever read. I mean, the only other book, and it's a very different vibe that is the same level, or it might be weirder, would be The Wasp Factory, which was so fucking weird, and I wouldn't recommend that book.
Okay.
But Bunny is the only way I can think of putting it is that it is Heathers meets Frankenstein.
Ooh.
It is a very weird horror novel
Okay.
about a culty clique of popular girls.
Interesting.
where there is like a very like magical realism fantasy element. It is so weird, but I enjoyed it.
I feel like Chris would like this.
And it's kind of like vague. I don't know. It's like, it's very vague. If you're not okay with like not having all the answers at the end, then it might not be the book for you.
No,
Something is my kind of book.
Not
I'm like,
for me.
I make my own endings.
Make my own adventure.
I'm like, what happened?
But what
happened?
But the way it was written, there were times when I was reading it where I was just like, I don't even think I like this, but I couldn't stop reading it.
Interesting.
And so for that reason, I was like, it's got to be at least 4 out of 5 stars for me, because I was just like, I was hooked on like, I got to see what happens next.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Fight me, like read it and then start a fight with me, because I know that people either really love it or hate it. Like it's just one of those. Like you're gonna like it or you're really, really, really not. Like that's it. You know. I did also read the Midnight Library, which was a nice palate cleanser from Bunny.
I'm so glad you read it.
Yeah,
and
I did.
I hope that you found it to be as enjoyable.
It
as
was
I did.
comforting to me.
It
actually.
was. It was for me as well. I mean, like you see where it's going. You see that it's going to be like
It's predictable, but it's it's cozy.
It's predictable, but at the same time, it gives you. It's exactly that. It's cozy. It's like it's giving you exactly what you want.
Yeah,
and that's fine with me.
Yeah.
Sometimes I need to be like just given exactly what I want and what I need.
I would say
that's what this book
does.
does.
If you're gonna read something fucking weird, find something comforting to read afterwards.
There you go.
You know, it's a good palate
I'm glad it was
cleanser.
glad it was a good palate cleanser.
I also spent 2 hours watching the Netflix trailer for Sandman and people's reaction to it on YouTube.
It looks incredible. It does.
August 5th, guys, go watch it so that I can get a second season, please. But if you have something we should watch or something we should read, if you have stories, or if you just want to reach out and say hi, go to our one-stop shop of a website. It's myworstdatepodcast.com, and we love you so much. Cheers.
Aumenta el desempeño de tu vehículo y ahorra gasolina con O'Reilly Auto Parts y Lucas. Llévate 2 botellas de tratamiento para combustible Lucas por solo $10. Además, obtén puntos dobles o rewards con esta oferta. Detalles en la tienda. Realiza tus compras en tu tienda O'Reilly Auto Parts más cercana o visita O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
This is a Glass Box Media Podcast.